Hey, what's up, everybody? It's just Charles, and welcome you guys to another episode of the Dreamerspro Show, where we cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic, debates, entertainment, and where we give you guys a fresh perspective on things and how we see them. In today's episode, we have a very interesting one for you guys that you definitely want to stick around for, so make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel. Now, we're all fully aware that the Lakers had a very bad season last year. This isn't a question anymore, and it's probably their worst season ever if we're going to take into consideration the expectations. Remember, going into the season, the Lakers had championship aspirations and expectations. I think they were given the second best odds to win it all. Certainly, they were the team that was picked to win, to represent the Western Conference. And not only did they not make the playoffs, they didn't even end up making it into the play-in tournament. So I think by all accounts, given the names that given that the expectations that they had, given that the names that they had on their roster, the LeBron Jameses, the Russell Westbrooks, Anthony Davises of the worlds, if you think of their salaries, you combine all of those things together, it was a total letdown and a total disappointment. And as a result, after the Lakers ended up not making the playoffs, they decided that they were going to fire their head coach. Their former head coach, and the coach that actually helped them win a championship 2 seasons ago, in Frank Vogel. And since his firing, it has been one head-scratching report after the other with this team. The one that really created, I believe, a lot of conversation around, the NBA world was the fact that it was the news that the Lakers, in fact, were beginning to consult with their former head coach and Phil Jackson, right? They brought him back into the fold, and that news created a lot of controversy. Why? Because as y'all know, Phil Jackson doesn't have a good relationship with LeBron James, and that really stems from the time when I believe he was the president of basketball operations, if I'm not mistaken, with the New York Knicks. And during that time, I believe he made comments, because I remember it, to the effect of, LeBron and his posse or something like that. Obviously, that didn't sit very well with him. Obviously, he had his issues with Carmelo Anthony. And as y'all know, Carmelo Anthony is a very close friend of LeBron James. So when the news came out that Phil Jackson was being brought into the fold again as a consultant, it created a lot of conversation. And a lot of people asked the question, flat out, which was, what exactly are the Lakers doing? Why would they bring Phil Jackson into the fold? And there was some further reports that came out that via I believe it was David Plashke. I hope I remembered his name properly, because we covered it. We actually did a video about it, where basically they said that, listen, if Phil Jackson had an option, he would rather see the Lakers trade away LeBron James than Russell Westbrook, which even brought even more chatter around that entire situation. So that's been the latest news that we heard really up until this point here, because I was doing some research this morning, and I stumbled upon an article via CBSSports.com, and they were basically laying out the latest information as far as the Lakers' next big coaching hire. Because remember, the Lakers currently are without a head coach. And as y'all know, according to Jeannie Buss, when she was interviewed by Plashke, she basically said it would be very difficult to make a decision on whether or not they were going to trade Russell Westbrook or make any other moves until they were able to get a coach, because the coach is going to be able to explain to them their philosophy on how they're going to make the team work and how they're going to integrate Russell Westbrook into the offense to get more out of him. So what we want to do here is read a little bit, pretty much read this article from CBSSports.com, and then really come back and react to it. So the article starts off with the headline: Lakers coaching search, Darvin Ham, Terry Stotts, Kenny Atkinson enter final round of interviews per report. The article continues on. The Los Angeles Lakers have reportedly narrowed down their head coaching search to 3 candidates: Milwaukee Bucks assistant Darvin Ham and former Portland Trailblazers coach Terry Stotts have advanced to the final rounds of interviews, according to ESPN. Golden State Warriors assistant coach Kenny Atkinson has been named a finalist per The Athletic. Of the finalists, The Athletic is reporting that Ham appears to have made the strongest impressions. All 3 candidates have been hot commodities in the coaching market, as the Charlotte Hornets have also had interest in him as well. However, the Lakers' job may be more enticing if only for the fact that LA has been making a championship contender with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Though the Lakers have struggled heavily last season, primarily due to injuries and the Russell Westbrook experiment not working out, the Lakers should be contenders next season if they're able to make moves to improve their roster this summer. If Ham were to get the job, it will be his first head coaching gig In the league, he has been with the Bucks since 2018, following Milwaukee Bucks head coach Mike Budenholzer. Budenholzer, I hope I pronounced the name properly, from the Atlanta Hawks. In that time, Ham has been an integral figure in Budenholzer's coaching staff, helping lead the Bucks to a championship last season, assistant in development of two-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. And the article basically goes on to say what it goes on to say. You guys can go out there and read it. It's on cbssports.com. You guys can go check it out. Now, here are my thoughts on this report. Really, let's get to the meat of this. The Lakers have some very big names on their roster. So conventional wisdom would tell you, well, when you have these big name players, you want to go out there and get a coach that's, a big name coach, right? To be able to, first of all, get these players to respect them and extract the most amount of success from them. The first problem with that is this: there are no big name coaches available. That's the first problem. There is no Eric Spoelstra. There is no, Greg Popovich. Rick Carlisle is already coaching. All the big name coaches, Ty Lue, all of these guys already, working with other teams. So that's the first problem. So there are no, head coaches out there for the Lakers to go after. The second thing worth considering is this. I think if the Lakers head in this direction, which is hiring a first-year coach in Darvin Ham, what they could potentially be trying to do is capture the same success that their rivals, their all-time rival, in the Boston Celtics have been able to capture with the hiring of Ime Udoka as their head coach. As y'all know, they hired him last season, and he was a first-year coach. And as we currently speak, he's doing a fantastic job with this Boston Celtics team, a team that Brad Stevens was not able to extract the same level of success from, although they did make it to an Eastern Conference Finals. But it seems like under the tutelage and leadership of him, Ime Udoka, it looks like this team is probably going to make another NBA Finals. I think the last time they did that was in 2010, right? So obviously the gamble is paying off, and it looks like he knows exactly what the hell he's doing, and maybe that's what the Lakers are trying to capture by hiring, Darvin Ham, because as y'all know, Ime Udoka was a former assistant coach with the Brooklyn Nets and the San Antonio Spurs. You've heard Skip Bayless reference this on many different occasions on Undisputed. So that could be something that they could be possibly considering. But here's something that I think we need to take into consideration, because it's a concern of mine that I have that I want to share with you guys. First one is this. Will the Lakers allow Darvin Ham, if he is ultimately going to be their head coach, will they allow him to do his job and not meddle in his affairs? This is something that the Lakers have been infamous for over the last few seasons. It's one of the reasons why a lot of people have been wondering who is really steering the ship at the Lakers. Is it LeBron? Is it Clutch Sports? Is it Jeannie Buss? Is it Kurt Rambis? Is it now Phil Jackson? Is it Linda? So many people have been asking, is it Rob Pelinka, right? There seems to be so many different voices, and a lot of people seem to be concerned with the fact that the Lakers potentially could be hiring a yes man, somebody that they can micromanage. Right? It was one of the reasons why some people out there like Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, and others felt like Mark Jackson would not work, because Mark Jackson is his own man. He's going to want to do things his own way. And they had this fear that if they were to hire him, there were going to be some internal clashes, because Mark Jackson is not one of these guys that you need, that is going to be giving you weekly reports and giving you, basically explaining his philosophy to substitutions, different offensive sets that he wants to use, defensive sets, and all of that. So that's one of the things. Are they going to let this guy do his job? Secondly, the Lakers have some big name players on their roster. Are they going to respect a first-year coach? This is another big question. Now, in the case of Ty Lue and LeBron James, it worked out, because remember, I think Ty Lue was an assistant coach and he took over as a head coach after, I believe it was David Blatt, if I'm not mistaken. That was the former head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. He got fired and he was able to pick up right where he left off, and then they ultimately went on to win a championship. But Ty Lue was a guy that has a lot of stones, right? And he has some big stones, and you saw him in the sideline basically told LeBron James to sit the hell down and, shut the what. So that's the second thing. Will they respect his voice as a freshman coach? That's something that we're going to have to also take into consideration. And finally, will he be able to figure out a way to extract the most amount of success from Russell Westbrook? Will he be able to figure that out? Because Russell Westbrook is an integral part to that team. And it's something that I think, the Lakers in their hiring process have definitely scrutinized and probably asked. And maybe he has a way, maybe he's figured out a way, a formula, so to speak, to be able to get the most amount of success out of Russell Westbrook, which will ultimately unlock the full potential of this Lakers roster. So there's so many questions. And I think at the end of this report, I think what this report has done for me on a personal level is raise more questions than answers. So that's why I stand. So what I want to know from you guys is this: what do you think about this report? What direction do you think this thing is headed in? Whatever you guys think, please leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.